React Native developers, this fun user experience, inspired from the Instagram app, is a perfect opportunity to explore how to import designs from Figma to React Native and how to harness the power of Reanimated 3 with Skia on such a dynamic Canva. So let's get to work. Guys, I hope you are well. William here, recording from beautiful Zurich, Switzerland. In this video, we're going to look at the sticker user experience from the Instagram app. So I can add stickers, move them around, and I can rotate, pinch, and of course, the pivot points are always nicely respected, as you would expect. And it's all vector-based, so I can zoom in as much as I want. It's no problem. And later on, we're going to also be able to share the pictures plus the stickers into a nice image. So how would we do this in React Native? We're going to use the gesture handler to be able to perform all of the gestures. Version 2 of gesture handler makes it extremely easy to implement such complex gesture. We're going to store the total transformation of a sticker into a 3x3 matrix. When the gesture starts, we remember what was the current transformation matrix using an offset value. And we store the pivot point of the scaling or rotation operation. We can simply multiply the current transformation using the offset during the gesture. To keep track of the position of each element, we overlay native view on top of each sticker, and we apply the same transformation on both the sticker and the native view so that they can stay nicely in sync. But what do you guys think? Can it be done in React Native? Let's have a look. We are into VS Code here, and I have a boilerplate project which you can download from the video description in case you want to code along. And so I have my Skia Canva where we display the background image, and we're going to add the stickers on top of it. So right now the list of stickers is empty. And we're going to get the stickers from a sticker context. So I created a context for stickers so we can access the stickers from here, the sticker modal that you see here, and this page. And for each sticker, we're going to overlay a gesture handler, which will be in sync. So here we have the transformation matrix for the sticker. So both will be perfectly in sync. And currently my gesture handler is empty. We're going to build it together, and we're going to also add a little share button to get the PNG from the Canva and share it using the share API in React Native. So I think the very first thing I want to do, and maybe we can open the sticker modal. So here, first I have the list of stickers, and the sticker is pretty simple. So you have a sticker as a Skia component, and they all have the same props, which is a matrix, the transformation matrix. And you need to return the size. And we need the size of the original sticker, so we can keep track with the native view of the gesture. And I think, and if we can go to the sticker modal, so we get the list of sticker, and we display the sticker. So we're going to add a sticker from Figma. So I'm in Figma here, and I have like a little sticker with some text. And here I'm going to keep it very easy and just flattened so everything into one path. I mean, it's more than one path, but I flattened the text into paths. But I'm going to link, just to be quick, but of course you could, and I think the point, right, is to have here text that you can modify and things like this. So in the video description, I'm going to show you some examples where, of course, you don't have to use a path for text. You can use a text component. But here, just for the sake of speed, so I have everything into SVG paths. I do copy as SVG. Actually, I'm going to need to copy this again, but that's okay. So I went too fast. So the first thing I'm going to do is to create a sticker. So I'm going to call it axe axe sticker .tsx, and so it's going to be axe sticker. Actually, I think what I'm going to do is to take like a sticker that exists already, copy paste it. So this is going to be our sticker content. The props are good, and we're going to fill it. So I just need to here call it axe sticker. So now I can copy the SVG path again. So there's going to be a little bit of manual labor. So here's the linear gradient. I'm going to remove it for now. The SVG you can remove. So here we have the view box of these paths. So this is going to be our width and height. I mean, here also, so the physical and virtual size are the same, but so I can do 162, 53. So that's going to be our size. And now I think we just need to do, so these gradients I can remove, and I'm going to, so let me remove it quickly, and I'm going to put it into a group. So we're going to apply a single linear gradient to these. Fill, here. Fill is called color. So I can just do it quickly here. And we need also some, so D is paths. So I have it here, perfect. And lowercase path is uppercase path. I think that looks good. And we just need to add the linear gradient. So linear gradient. So the colors. So probably this is one color. And the second would be this one. Okay. So then the start and end, again, there's many ways you could do it. I'm going to do it the fast way, but you can get the bounding box of these paths, and then you can say, oh, I want to start from the top left corner to the bottom right corner, or top left to top right. I think here I'm going to, so I think the first thing I'm going to do here is position it at 0, 0. And I'm just going to use this quick. So I think I have like 60, let's say, and 60 plus, 90. So we can start at 60 and then 140, let's say 145, and y-axis 0. So now that I have the sticker, let's see it. So I need to add it to the list. So I'm gonna add it here. And I think now it should appear automatically. Yes, we see it. And I think the values we took for the linear gradient are good. What's great with Figma and React Native, so with Skia now all the Figma capabilities, path operators, the gradients, image filters, so the shadows and things like this, the blurs, layer blurs, they can be all nicely translated. In masking, they can nicely be translated from Figma to React Native Skia, so which I find to be really good, and that helps to improve the communication between visual designers and programmers, because now they have access to the same 2D primitives to make drawings. So that's really fun. So we have the sticker, and now if I select it, I want to be able to, so first of all, I can we nicely scale the sticker to the right position. So we have tile width and tile height. So we have the source rectangle, which is the width and height of the sticker. The destination, which is the tile width, tile height. We add some padding through the deflate function. So that's a simple helper here. And then we have the feedbox function, which returns a React Native transformation. so that will calculate for us the scale. So when we press, we need to add a sticker. And we have the add sticker function from the context. And I think it looks like this. We have sticker, size, and we need to create a matrix. So this one is interesting. And it needs to be, it's going to be our reanimated value because we are going to animate it. And usually we would use shared value to create a reanimated value. But here we cannot use shared value, and it's an interesting thing. And it's new, it's an API we've never used. But if I go here, you can see that we have a dynamic number of stickers. So we cannot have a dynamic number of hooks. But that's no problem because when this happens, we just put the value into the sticker component. But here, since it's shared between two collections of components on two completely different places, we need really to have a dynamic number of shared value because we cannot have a dynamic number of components where, so it doesn't match with the tree. So use shared value is simply use memo of a function, and this function is called make mutable. I'm not sure if that's a great function name, but that's the name of the function. So our matrix is make mutable, and we're going to create a Skia matrix. So that's interesting because we always see, and we see it also with Skia. So you see hooks like use shared value in Skia. We provide also some hooks, and you always think there's some sort of magical things, but often, not always, but often it's simply a wrapper, some memoization plus some functions, and you can use this function directly sometimes. And of course, so use shared value is make mutable plus memoization. If we run some animations, we need to do some cleanup. Here we're not going to need, so when you don't need the value anymore, but that's not something we need to do here. And actually, let's try this now. Let's try it. So you see, okay, and then, so I can close, and you see it on the top left corner. So the first thing I need to do is to do navigation, go back, so close it, but also to scale. I mean, this is horrible. So we're going to scale. So we're going to add the default matrix value. So our source rectangle, we know it, right? Because we have the size, width, size, height. And the destination, let's center it on the screen. So this I like. But also let's add some padding. So let's deflate to, 16 maybe. And from these two values, so we have fitbox, but fitbox gives us a React Native transformation. So let's convert it into a matrix, and that would be, okay, let's do fitbox first, sorry. So fitbox contains source destination, and then to have it as a matrix, we would do process transform 2D. So here I have React Native redash. So my apologies because this is the same name for an incompatible function, but this one should work, and this should be our default matrix function. Up. Let's have a look. So the destination here is wrong. It's window with window height. So let's have a look. Perfect. I like it. We can even increase if we want the padding, but this is nice. So this works well. Now let's move things around. So again, here we display the list of stickers. We have gesture handlers, but we need to have a view that matches perfectly so we have matrix size, And we're going to use the gesture detector so this new API from Gesture Handler that makes it really, really easy to build such complex gestures. So these are granted in terms of, offering this as a user experience in a mobile app. And I love that now on the development side, these are extremely easy to do also in React Native. So I love that it's like a complete commodity on both sides, on the user side and on the developer side. So it's going to be an animated view. And so we're going to have an animated style. And the gesture detector, we're going to have a gesture. We're going to start simple, where the gesture is going to be a simple pan. And kudos to the to the team, as Software mentioned, because this new gesture handler API is really, really good. Fits perfectly. So here from reanimated, and we're going to create an animated style. So use animated style. So we need to have a position, so absolute, because we overlay on top of the Canva. The width is this is good. And I think the basic position, I'm going to do top left 0, and then we're going to use the matrix transformation. And so now transform, and we can pass one transform, which is matrix. And here, something very simple is that so in Skia, right now we use 3x3 matrices. In React Native, it's a 4x4, but that's absolutely no problem. We have a function to nicely convert from the Skia matrix format to the, something very easy to the React Native matrix format. So this one is no problem. And if we want, just to debug it, I'm going to add some background color. Yeah, something like this. I think maybe just 0. I don't know. 0. So let's have a look. Okay. And I'm not surprised by what I'm seeing here. Because also, so there are two slight differences. We try to make things look like, like you have the transform property in React Native Skia that looks like the transform property in React Native. We try to, if the API is nice on the React Native sides, we like it. We try to offer it to the React Native developer. There are two small differences. So one you've seen is that the matrix format is slightly different. Another one, and this one we really had to keep this difference, is that in React Native, since they know the layout, they're able to offer the center of the shape as the pivot point, the default origin of transformation. In our case, we always have to take the top left corner. And this is why you see it here on the middle of the shape. So we need to go back. We need to go back to the top left as a pivot point. So I'm going to do translate x is minus width divided by 2. We need to do y. That's good. And I think just go back. I'm being a bit lazy here, right? So this is how we do pivot points, right? Using transformation APIs or matrices. And you see already the result. So now you see the bounding box is very good. So let's move it now, right? Now we should have both in sync. So let's update the matrix when we move. So we need to keep an offset. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's just do translation first, which is quite easy. We can do on change. And this, again, is one of the novelty in Gesture Handler, which is a bit of a game changer because it makes these things so much easier. But we can do matrix.value. And I have a translate function, which I'm going to show you. I have a helper. where we pass the starting value, and I think would be called change, no? Oh, sorry, on change and change x, change y. So let's have a look at the translate function. So what we need to do here, and we're gonna, once we have everything working, we're gonna go back to this notion, but because there's some things to be said. But we need to create a new matrix for every frame because we want the shared value to change, so to realize that something has changed. We apply the transformation and we add back the matrix value. We do it so that we don't need to map x and y into the matrix space. So if I were to copy the original matrix, so we copy to know that something has changed and then do the translation, we will need to map x and y to the current transformation space. But here, since we have it from the gesture handler, we apply it first and then we use the concat. So this works nicely. For rotate and scale, we do the copy of the matrix. We do, so the true translate you see is the pivot point, and then we do the actual operation, rotate or scale. So pretty, I would say pretty straightforward. And so it doesn't work because I have it here. So now it works nicely. Very cool. Very nice. So I'm going to remove this one here. And let's do something. Let's add a new gesture. So this becomes pan gesture. And the gesture is a race between pan and other gestures. So we're going to add a pinch. So pinch is a bit more complicated, but really not that much, which is cool. So now when we start the gesture, because there is a pivot point, so we need to store the pivot point as an animation value. So use shared value, and we can do a skia point. Or you can use the vec function, which is just a shortcut for it. And we need an offset because we need to remember, because of this pivot point, when we start the gesture, we need to remember what was the transformation matrix. So simply offset, use shared value of a skia matrix. Very good. On begin, we need to store the pivot point and the offset. So offset dot value is matrix dot value, so current transformation. And the pivot point is, let's say, vec of, so I should have, so I think here, okay, let me up event. I think should be good. Oops, I imported the wrong. Now in Redash, there's so many duplicated function names. So this is good. And now when we change, matrix.value equals scale, the offset value, and the scale and the pivot point. I guess this would be the order. Let's see. Seems okay. Let's see if it works. Did I forget something? Let's see. Hello. No, so it's not working. No, it seems to. Is it working? It seems to be working. Okay. Seems good. Now we can do the same with rotate. So now it's exactly the same. Pinch, rotate. So it's called rotate. The gesture is, I guess, rotation. It's called anchor X, anchor Y, and here it's rotate Z. And here it's event dot rotation. Okay. So I zoom out, I can rotate, pinch, move it around. Pretty cool, pretty straightforward, I think. Let me just, I have sweaty fingers, but works pretty nicely. I love that, yeah, these become commodities and it works very, very well. So maybe one last thing we can do here is to use the share API, right? So we want a picture when we press the button. So I can do, I can add a ref to the Canva. I think we have a helper, use Canva ref, just to have the correct type. And so we can do image equals ref dot current dot make image snapshot. We can encode it to base 64, for instance. And then, so I think we will have something like data equals, yeah, I think this is good. And then there's a share API in React Native. Yeah, I think that's good. Let's see. What's yeah, I mean, we can just rename this. So let me add hello, beautiful Zurich, Switzerland. And let me save it. And here I have the image nicely saved on my iPhone. So now with React Native Skia, we have like a really good sense of what is fast, what is not so fast. And one thing which is actually pretty fast, but relatively to everything else is not that fast, is that here on every frame, every time we animate, we create a new matrix, and this is a GSI allocation. And I mean, these GSI allocations are fast, but comparatively to everything else we're doing, which is extremely fast, it's kind of a slow operation. And it has also another problem, is that because it's a GSI object, in Hermes, it doesn't know the size of the objects, and they tend to be really hard to be garbage collected because it thinks that it's such a small object that it's just a reference. It doesn't know behind the scene how much memory is used by the GSI object. They tend to be hard to garbage collect. So, and you could have, I think there is a bug report on this, and I think a good example would be a blob that you create through GSI, where behind the scenes there's maybe tons of memory allocated, but Hermes thinks that no, it's just a reference to, so this is a lightweight object. And here, these matrices, or if you animate on colors, these are small objects. You could have paths, which are still small, but much bigger. So what we would like to do is to get rid of these allocations. Then things will be extremely fast, and we are not creating, tons of objects that will take a lot of time to be garbage collected. So I want to show something. Let me switch. So here I have a similar example, but using a non-released version of Skia. And what we're going to do is that instead of creating a new matrix, we create a matrix buffer. So we create two matrices, and we're going to swap from one to the other so that Skia knows and Reanimated knows that something has changed. But then we don't need to allocate new matrices. So for each transformation, so I have two matrices, rotation, scaling, translate. And I can simply switch from, so I have the swap matrix buffer. So I switch from one to the other. Here I reset the value, which I think for safety, but it's probably not needed. So when we have an operation, we select the matrix that is going to be the new matrix. We swap the value, so the input value. So this is equivalent of how we were doing the copy, and then we apply the actual transformation. And this allows us to not have to recreate thousands and thousands of objects potentially, right, if you animate a lot. And this might be extremely also useful pattern for paths animation. So if you think about path interpolation, you would create a new object every time. We have a PR where you can pass an output path as parameter, so you don't need to recreate, but then you still need this concept of buffer so that you know that the object has changed. And so this is a pattern that I found where we create two values and we swap them every time. So it knows that something has changed. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this example. As I mentioned during the tutorial, what I really love about this is that this user experience of applying complex gestures on different elements on mobile apps is now a baseline expectation in terms of user experiences. And I love that this is also now a commodity for us developers to do these things in React Native. If you're new to React Native, I love that this is now these things, we can take them for granted. If you've been on this React Native journey with me since the beginning or many years ago, you probably remember that these things used to be extremely easy to do, almost virtually impossible. And it's kind of cool and fresh that now we have all these new primitives that we can use as a commodity. So I hope you enjoyed it. I am looking forward to talk to you soon. And until next time, happy hacking.